One of the biggest things that drives me absolutely nuts is when I see companies do layoffs that really shouldn't be doing layoffs. And now you're like, who would that be? Well, it's John Deere. This company right here is laying off a few hundred people in Iowa, and it is not pretty. And now you're like, wait, how do you know? How do you know? So we're gonna watch a little news clip of it, and then I'm gonna give you some of my takes. But before you watch that news clip, let me give you some reference numbers, right? John Deere, that company that you see right there, is a $1 billion corporation, right? So John Deere has constantly made more money and made more profits, right? So Deere, the parent company of it, net income for 2023 was $10.1 billion, a 42.56% increase from 2022. The company's operation income for the year was $13.01 billion. And now I'm asking you, if you're having this big of a numbers, what are you doing with layoffs? So now let's jump into that video for the news, and we'll be right back.
John Deere is planning to lay off more than 300 people across our state in the next month.
Yeah, the company has already cut more than 450 positions this year. That includes 150 jobs in Ankeny. KCCI's Ethan Humble talked with a financial expert to hear what led to the cuts.
We found a letter sent to all John Deere employees and confirmed it with one worker. In it, the company says it doesn't take these decisions or actions lightly, also saying it's a necessary step that must be taken to enable the long-term health of the business.
It's definitely not good. It's definitely not a positive.
John Deere's hundreds of worker layoffs are coming quickly, and Matthew Mitchell, a financial expert and professor of strategy at Drake University, says they're happening due to a number of factors.
Challenging market environment, declining demand, higher interest rates.
According to the Iowa Workforce Development's WARN notifications, the company will be cutting 240 positions from its Waterloo location in the next month alone. It'll also be dropping 58 workers in Urbandale and 16 in Ankeny.
They've taken some of these decisions, focusing on costs, focusing on a hiring freeze.
The numbers include both production and office workers.
When we see these numbers, they can look big, but compared to their full employment in Iowa, John Deere still remains committed to Iowa.
Mike Scheckinger has sold John Deere products at Van Wall Equipment in Urbandale for 28 years. He says he's expecting the company to bounce back from the tough time.
I think John Deere's strong enough that in the long haul, it's going to be good. It always has been.
Mitchell tells me the layoffs are a measured response from John Deere and expects the manufacturing giant to grow over the next 10 years. Back to you.
Okay, now you saw that video, and I personally think they're going to ship all these jobs to Mexico. And they're going to say, and as you saw in the video, they're like, these jobs will come back, John Deere will grow and will, in the long run be okay. You're a $10 billion company. You have the means and the ends to do everything you want. And you can do whatever. And moving jobs, like moving things away from, oh, we got to stay lean and doing this. Sorry, if you make $1 billion, then these few hundred people that you're taking their livelihood away is a rounding error. Not even. It's nothing. It shouldn't even bother you. And it does. It does bother me, and it doesn't bother them, because what they're going to do is, this is what they're going to do. They're going to move the plant, like I seen in the other video before, to Mexico. And that's going to allow them to probably bring it into the United States because of some treaty at almost no cost. So they're going to manufacture it in Mexico at almost no cost. And what they're going to do with that is they're going to say, oh, we've increased profitability, and now because of inflation and all this other stuff, we're going to have to increase prices on you too. So they're going to decrease the price and increase profitability. So their shareholders and C-suite executives are going to have even a better time and make more money. And I don't fault them for making more money. I don't fault any corporation for actually making money. But when you're so big, then I feel like you should hire in the country that you're going to sell your products to, because these people that live around here all need jobs, and they all need to provide for their families. And sometimes I think people forget that. And once you have only the CEO and the C-suite executives in the US and everything is exported, who's going to buy your stuff? If none of these people here have a job making 6 figures or making 5 figures, who's going to buy your stuff? Who's going to be there at your little nice floor and buy your stuff, because there's nobody there to buy because everybody's got laid off. So who are you going to sell this crap to that you're building in Mexico if you're not providing those people in your country that you try to sell stuff, the money to go out and buy it, because they just can't do it. So I'm just like shaking my head. I'm not happy about it. And they're going to increase their prices like everybody did. And now they're like, oh, we just gotta do, they just gotta do the right thing and they will grow and jobs will come back. Probably not. That is just what they say to everybody. And I do not like it. Plus, I forgot my car key in the car right here. So now I need to walk back and actually get my car key. So these people at these head companies think so short-sighted. So one more thing that I'm like really, really upset about is that all these companies that have laid off people and are try to sell stuff to Americans and bring it back across the border, they should tax that. And it doesn't matter if you manufacture in Mexico, if you manufacture in Canada, or anywhere else. They need to start taxing everything. Every good that comes through the border needs a huge tax on it, so that people that got laid off and live in areas can still have a job. And once you increase the taxes by a gazillion percent, all of a sudden they're like, oh, we got to move jobs back here. We got to do things. And it's already hard enough that that the working class people are going to hit with two swords at once. They're getting hit with high inflation, right? And they're getting hit with AI, right? So you're like, what does high inflation and AI have to do with each other? Well, high inflation means that interest rates are going up too. So to combat that makes lending more expensive. That means it's harder to companies to take out and borrow loans and expand, right? That's one thing. The second thing is that AI is coming here to stay. I don't think you can say that AI is going to go away and we're like, oh, it went too quick, we're not going to use AI anymore. No, it's only going to be amplified. It's going to come more and more. And you saw Nvidia stock, that's why it's so high, because they keep innovating and they're on the front of it all to make it, with these chips. So it's not going to go away anytime soon. It's going to get even more automation. So what does that mean? I think there's going to be even more automation happening, and people are going to be let go. And I did another video the other day and I said it's going to be 2 people, 2 jobs for 1 person. And I'm going to reevaluate and actually say it's 3 jobs for every 1 job now with AI, because AI can now filter through your inbox. It can do all these crazy things with it can write you scripts, it can take meeting notes, it can summarize meeting notes, it can translate into different languages in real time while you're doing the meetings. So all these translators, that's done. You don't need a translator anymore. You can do it with an app now. Like interpreters, that's done. Don't need that anymore. Like if you're half blind or legally blind, oh, that's no issue. Meta released the Ray-Bans, where you can basically just say, hey, take a picture. What am I seeing, Meta? Oh, you're seeing a road and you're walking on the right path. And then you're like, hey, Meta, can you tell me where I'm at? Bam, location track, boom, there you go. It will tell you, oh, you are on this road, and to walk home, you need to walk another few yards and then take a right turn. So that's another thing. So, everything is changing at a rapid pace, and the common Americans are just left behind. And it is tragic to see that I think, I do think, make that prediction. We're going to be so automated that we're going to leave the rest of the world behind. So these countries, these third world countries that haven't started yet, they don't know what AI is. They're still having normal labor, they're still doing their things, while we in the States are automating everything. Automating voice call, automating calls, automating freaking driving. Everything's going to be robo taxis and all that other kind of crazy stuff. And that is all nice, right? When you think about it, it's nice. It's like, hey, you can get a taxi. You're going to get probably childcare from one of these robots in the near future. And it's just going to come at a big expense as you. You are the big expense. You are the person that is not going to be having a job. And people say, oh, in the old days, it was better because, you actually had to show up. You actually had to work. And now I'm kind of seeing how cool it could have been, back in the 1960s, 70s, where you actually had to meet people and, your business needed people to grow. Now you can have a business with a one person, or two or three, and everything else is automated and AI, driven. And so you don't need a big company. You can make now millions of dollars at home selling products, doing stuff with AI, and just be a happy camper. And before, you needed a secretary, you needed somebody to write invoices, you needed to, have an accountant, and those days are all gone. In the near future, accountants not needed. AI can do my taxes probably better than any accountant can in the future. It will actually be better and to even not drive anymore, because AI will take over that too, and car insurance companies will say, hey, if you want to drive your own car, it is going to be so much more expensive for you to even consider driving. So it's not feasible anymore because AI can do it so much cheaper and so much better. And they can go faster and all that kind of other stuff. So now I'm like, where's the human aspect? Where's the human element of all this stuff? Because we're just sitting. I feel like we all got a seat on the sideline and just not doing much. We're just looking at the sidelines, seeing how AI, the Nvidia CEO is talking about how AI is basically innovating its own chips, and it's basically programming itself. And then you hear these horror stories of how AI is going rogue and it's talking dark to each other and it's talking in their own languages and all that kind of crazy stuff. And then they call it like a black box phenomenon or something. And I was like, what is going on? Do we even know what we're unleashing? And it's not that I'm against AI. I just think that we need to somehow have a fine balance of AI and still keeping people employed, because, at one point okay, this is a very, very important point. At one point, for you to compete in this world is going to be too expensive. What do I mean by that? I mean that it's going to be way, way, way too much expensive for you to compete with Nvidia that can do, that's going to come in and compete with, AI bots, Tesla bots, and all that. And so if you want to start like a roofing company to lay roofs, right? You're like, I really want to start a roofing company. And you're like, hey, I want to contract with that. I want to start a business. I want to do roofing. I like it. So you're like, okay, how do I start? Well, you get a license and then you're off to the races and you start doing the roofing. But there's going to be people that have $1 million sitting on the sideline that are going to pay an AI Tesla bot or an automated AI roofing tool to just take off the roof and put one on there. And they've been at the job site for 10 minutes. They have 3 machines going around and they do it all the time. And now you're like, wow, I'm still doing manual labor and I can't get a job because all these robots are doing it for a quarter of the price than I am, because all it takes them is to set it up and forget it. And you're like, Oh, that's in the future. Yeah, that was probably like a year or two, probably 5 years out till we're there with advancement. And you're like, oh, how how do you think we're 5 years out? So when I'm looking at driving, just how far these cars came along from 2012, 2013 to 2024, that's about 10 years, right? How far the technology in cars advanced. We now have cars that can pull themselves out of parking lots, they can parallel park, they can drive themselves, and that all happened in the last few years, right? And there's been some there's been some TV shows like the Third World Problem where they said it took us, society 100 years to get to took us like 2,000, 3,000 years to go from Neanderthal or whatever we were before, whatever you believe in, to like the 1950s to come up with like great technology, internet, and all that. And then from internet to AI, didn't take us very long at all. And so now, where are we going to go? Like quantum computing is going to be next, right? And all these crazy things. And then where is the end? Where are we going to say, we've done enough automation, we automated enough, and enough is enough? Because people still need to, have something to live for, wake up in the morning and do something. Because what are you going to do if you're not going to go to work? Play video games all day and do something? I know in theory that sounds great, but you gotta stay occupied with something, right? So what are you gonna do? Universal income and just party and have a good time? I don't know, but I know that billion-dollar companies are at the forefront. They're setting a precedent, and they need to be held accountable for actually telling people you should not let people go just because you want a cheaper manufacturer. That should not be a reason in 2024 to actually move plants or let people go, because nowadays you can still manufacture in the US like Elon Musk does with Tesla and just somehow figure out how to innovate in your country. But these are just my 2 cents. I don't know about you guys. Let me know whichever you think. If you watched so far, super cool. Maybe you want to like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.